This is my first time ever doing a video, so be patient with me as I don't really know what to say, but I've been feeling compelled to start doing videos regarding the truth in my life. So um, I'm going to talk about being honest with myself. So it's going to be called If I Be Honest. And I was in a relationship on and off for 3 years. And a lot of different things transpired, of course, being in a relationship. When you've been with a person on and off for that long, of course, a lot of things probably pop off. So I want to talk today about how I feel today. And right now I'm feeling um, I guess I feel okay at this very moment. Of course, there are moments where I don't feel okay, but right now I feel okay. So Sunday, this past Sunday, December 23rd, I went to church, and my bishop announced that one of the members of our church, which was the guy that I was seeing, was now a minister. And everybody kind of got quiet, like, what? And then he said that here is the Mrs. and that they had gotten married. Wow. So I want to talk about, I guess, fear and how I got to this place. And pray that I'm able to make it through this conversation. And so, like I said, it's been on and off since 2015. So we had a big blowout in 2015, and I walked away from the relationship, and I really had no desire of going back, but some kind of way I opened up to allow myself to go back in 2016, towards the end of 2016. So from like June of 2015, maybe July of 2015 to like November of 2016, there was nothing. Or I would still call maybe, just as friends, touch bases, hey, can you go check out something, do something, whatever. But for some reason, I allowed myself to get back into a relationship or intimate relationship with this person in November of 2016. And it was a very painful 2017, a whole bunch of games, playing, just I felt like messing with multiple women, just a lot of pain. And so towards the end of 2017, we had lived together maybe a month or so, and he just would always, like, we never break up. He would just stop coming over. And then I know that if I call him and I can't get an answer, that he's probably with another woman. So that's pretty much how this thing went. So that happened in 2017, and I was distraught, to be honest. I couldn't take the pain, really, of that, and just the daily things that come in life. So I found myself just unhappy. And I quit my job because my boss made me mad. So I quit, and thinking that I was gonna basically start a new business venture in January of this year. And that didn't go as I planned it. So I was going through the beginning of this year. And finally, when I started to kind of get back, finding my strength in God, like where I could tell that, that I love God. Like, you're just so thankful that He's picked you up. Here He comes. Here He comes. And so I could see he still had some of those same behaviors, so I just kind of pushed away. Like, okay, you still with the same stuff. And he came, he was like, I see you haven't been calling and all of this, so I'm gonna just give you, give this thing a chance where we just try to do it. So I would say May, a little bit after Mother's Day, somewhere around there. He started coming over, spending the nights, and then we eventually was living together. And that was, of course, over the summertime. And, just, even in that relationship during the summer where we was together, you can tell, there was things that were not right. Some of the things that were said, things that were done, you know how you should be loved. And God had given me grace to love him after all the things that he had done. I showed him the grace that God had given me, as far as conversation, how I spoke to him and how I dealt with him, because we're human and we have to show grace to one another. That is the example of God's love. And when you think about how much he's shown us love and mercy and grace, you should want to bestow that to somebody else, And so it was constantly negative things being said, and I would try to combat it with love, because the word tells us that love covers a multitude of sins. So anyway, I got to a point where I became fearful in the relationship. Not fearful from physical or anything, but fearful on the fact that I didn't want to lose this person, and I started allowing it to consume me. And I didn't like the way it felt. I really didn't like the way it felt. It was such a heavy burden on me, and I would pray every day to God about how I felt, about the fear. Lord, bring him back home. And it was just very, very fearful. And that something is not right with it. And God was telling me to let it go. And I was afraid to let it go. You just know. He was saying let it go, and I was afraid. And finally, he had enough sense, I guess, to say, I'm going to go ahead and move out. And so that happened. But during this course of him saying he was moving out, I kind of felt like he had started talking to somebody. Like, he said he wanted to go to the gym one Sunday evening. Okay, cool. You go to the gym though, you come home, your shirt not sweaty, not anything. You've been lifting weights, you should have some level of a sweat. But anyway, that's neither here or there. So I just kind of felt like, how you get those vibes and you're just missing time, you call, you don't answer for hours, okay, whatever. Okay, so I could tell he had started messing with somebody, and it came to a boil maybe around Labor Day, right after Labor Day, when I called. I had lost my phone, we had went out. And when I called, I rode past where he lived to take my son to school, and I saw his car wasn't there, and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Typical him. So when I called, he answered the phone because he didn't know my new phone number that they gave me. And I was like, your car must be in the shop. And of course he couldn't speak. So I'm like, okay. And so the more I talked, he was like, I'm gonna call you back, and just hung the phone up. Okay, so at that point I was just like, it is what it is. And I think from there, God just started trying to really deal with me with who he was. And and so over the course of this weekend, he did some low down things. Like, I didn't have a phone. I was waiting on Sprint to send me a new phone. He wouldn't let me use his phone, even though when he didn't have his phone, I was letting him use my phone. We was living together and all that. So I was just like, it just started to open my eyes about who this person was. And I didn't. He wanted to get some more of his things, and he was just acting like a little child. So I was like, okay, I'll take your stuff to the police station. You want to pick it up from there? You know, we can do that. And not to really get into too much details about this, because really the whole topic about this, or the main highlight of this, is dealing with fear. I was afraid to let it go, even though God was telling me to let it go. And I was being disobedient to God in that relationship, because he had already told me what not to do, and had been showing me really a while about this person. But I was so hung up on wanting to have a covering a husband, and he was the closest thing that seemed like was fulfilling that role, that I was going through the motion. And so this past Sunday, we were in church, and like I said, the bishop announced it, and I just couldn't believe it. So it's just been more shocking, or more offensive, that you would, first of all, we've talked about this, we've had conversations about if we were to date other people, because he's brought another woman to church before. And and he was like, well, I'm getting my own church now, so we wouldn't have that problem. So, but here we are. And I just want to say that we have to be willing to move when God tells us to move, because that fear that I allowed to keep me bound down, my greatest fear has come to reality. So I should have just did what God was putting in my heart and my spirit to do, and to not be afraid. And first of all, God is not a God of fear. He's a God of love, peace, and a sound mind. And at the time, I did not have peace and a sound mind, and I did not feel love from that person the way that I wanted to be loved. So full circle, it comes around. Your fear, whether you do it or not, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. So I should have just heeded to what God was saying. So I don't know who this message is for, or if it's just for me, and I'm okay with it. But when you feel that something is not right, and it has become to the point where it's making you afraid, then you should just let it go. Don't be afraid, because the fear is not God's tool, it's the enemy's tool, and it's a tormentor. It really is. And he really wants me to be tormented now about this situation, because it's just a place that I worship, and it means a lot to me. And he's been, just kind of, so we had Sunday service, and then we had Christmas Eve service. And, it's kind of difficult to deal with, not impossible, but definitely difficult. But I feel God's hand working in the situation. His strength, he lifts me up. His love is lifting me up to not be totally torn apart by this, because it could totally tear me apart. It could have. So I thank God for that. And I just want to say that if you find yourself fearful, and you know that that's not God, just let it go. I pray that you would have strength to let it go, and to trust God. Because I got to a point, obviously, that I stopped trusting God. When I was trusting him, because I know that's not like him to be fearful, and it consumes you. And that's not what he has for you. He doesn't have a relationship for you to be in that you feel fearful all the time, or consumed by whatever emotion. That's not of God. So I hope that, it would encourage someone to just not be afraid to let it go. It may be painful at that moment, but guess what? Look at the pain that can come behind that. If you let that, if you continue to keep going against what God is trying to tell you to do, it's something bigger up ahead, and your healing can start a lot sooner. Maybe He can start preparing you for something else. But I just wanted to get this out. But like I said, if I be honest with myself, I probably should have never been in that relationship after the first big blow up. I should have not allowed myself to go back to that. And it's not a knock against him. It's not even a knock against me at this point. We was just going through the motions in life, but disregarding the things that have already happened. Those things happen for a reason, and he was never meant for me, and God had been showing me this over these past few months. He was never meant for you. So I am okay, and I'm praying and hoping that God will show me my covering soon, my husband, because I desire to be in a covered by a man. That's the way He ordered it to be, and I hope for the best for him, and I've always prayed for him, and I hope that it can help someone decide to make the right decision to get out of whatever it is that's holding them down, because that weight, that fear, that heaviness it's a hard thing to carry. So I pray that you would be encouraged. I pray that you would do God's will and let it go right now before something bigger comes that hurts you even more. Because pain sometimes is inevitable, and it forces us to grow. It forces us to heal. It forces us to mature. And I pray that this right here will help someone to let something go that God has been putting in their heart and in their spirit to let go. And not live like that, because He doesn't want us to live like that. So I'm thankful that I got through this message. And like I said, it's not a knock to the other individual, because, I think we were both just kind of trying to go through the motion and find ourselves. And, that's what happens in life. So I'm not knocking him or anything. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. I could focus on bad things, but why? He's human, he's living, he's trying to figure it out the same way that I am. It's unfortunate some of the things that happen, but guess what? Right now I feel strengthened by the Lord, and I pray that this camera is still rolling, and that this would reach somebody and His message will go forward. And I hope this, and I ask this in His loving Son, Jesus' name. Amen.